I don't learn. What is it? Oh, what's the line?
I don't know what the line is. You haven't told me yet.
Anywhere. I don't care. What? It's Phil Collins. I don't care anymore.
See, it's hard because I've never listened to many of Phil Collins' songs. I only know a couple of them, like the...
You know the one. Yeah. Everybody, you always know.
And then I know his stuff from Tarzan, but I've never known really like... Is there a gain on this thing? We're turning it... It's already all the way down.
Yeah, no, this thing's super sensitive.
Wow, okay. So, but I've never... But I don't know if it's Phil Collins unless I hear his voice, because his voice is so distinct.
It is that voice.
It is the Phil Collins voice, yeah.
He's got that Phil Collins voice, that unique, undeniable uniqueness that you can always see no matter what, and you can tell when it's not there.
His voice will be in my heart.
Yes.
No matter what they say.
No matter what they say.
From this day on.
Absolutely.
Now
and forever.
I was going to let you finish it.
But, you know, the interesting thing about Phil Collins is that he's so unique, you can always tell when it's him. Just like other people. Just like certain directors.
Yeah.
Just like...
Christopher Nolan has been a staple.
Tenet looks amazing.
It does look amazing. It does, yeah. But that's not where we're actually here, Joseph. You were getting to a point.
I'm getting to a point with my smooth segueing skills.
Yes, you are. You were getting to it.
Excuse me.
Sip, a doodly doo.
Sip, sip, a
That's
doodly
from
doo.
Jake and Josh. Anyway, go on.
Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
There's Snyder Cut, guys.
It's happening.
It's here. It's happening.
It's actually... Keep calm. Everybody just chill out. It is actually happening.
It's real. And I knew it was real the whole time. I knew people hated on it. They blasphemed the idea of it existing. They said it was going to be trash. All of it's going to be false.
Well, they said that about the Justice League, but what did they say about the Snyder Cut?
The Justice League was trash.
Yeah. So, for those who may not know, I keep looking at the audio as if this is distracting me. I'm sorry. For those of you who don't know, or may know, or want to know more, Joseph, what is the Snyder Cut, and why is it so important?
The Snyder Cut is... So, context. Justice League was a film that came out a couple years ago.
Yes.
I'll run through a really quick TLDR.
And Endgame made more money in about a day than it did in its entire tenure in theaters.
Yeah, because the thing is, Justice League was originally supposed to be directed by Snyder. And he was doing whatever, and a very tragic thing happened. His daughter died from suicide, and real absolute tragedy, all that. And from that, of course, he needed to step down to deal with personal family life and all of that. But Warner Brothers, the wonderful, caring company that they are, took the opportunity to take a tragedy and absolutely use it to twist the movie to what they wanted. And so they hired Joss Whedon, who is not a bad director.
I didn't know this.
So, yeah, I'm filling in blanks. But the thing is, Warner Brothers, once that happened, they needed somebody to finish the movie, quote unquote, because it wasn't finished completely. So they hired Joss Whedon.
They didn't know how good at finishing movies Ron Howard was, though.
Yeah, right.
So they went with Joss Whedon again. Joss Whedon, again, as Joseph was saying, not a terrible director. Done quite a bit of Marvel stuff, guys.
The issue is, Warner Brothers knew what they wanted. They wanted a Marvel. And they knew that Joss Whedon is how he is. The thing is, you couldn't have two directors in my head that just have such wildly different views, methodology, like everything. Just, they're so different.
Well, it's not just that, it's directorial style. It's directorial feel.
Yes, that's...
If you started a Wes Anderson movie with Wes Anderson directing, and then Wes Anderson left the film halfway through and brought in another person, it would be absolute garbage, because there's no one like Wes Anderson.
Right.
He is brilliant, but he has a style. And Zack Snyder has a style too. There's a reason that when you watch 300 and The Watchmen and every other movie that he's made, it all looks the same. One, because he's consistent. Two, because he's got the grit. He's got the style, and that's him.
Yes.
And when you take something like that out and try to replace it with something else, but morph it into what was there before, doesn't work. Doesn't work.
So Joss Whedon,
I love Justice League.
He really became a very not as good person in my mind when he worked on Justice League, and it's not all his fault because Warner Brothers was really the real villain behind this. Yeah. They pressured a lot of the changes. They put a very strict in time on the movie. They put all sorts of expectations.
They were really the very poorly CGI'd Steppenwolf.
Yes.
Instead of the really poorly.
They were really the very poorly CGI'd upper lip of Henry Cavill.
You know what? Leave the mustache on the guy. Henry Cavill looks good.
He looks great in a mustache.
With a mustache. Mission Impossible 6 Fallout confirms this.
Mm-hmm. That's why it's there.
The mustache fits the man.
No, it does.
Let it be
it
there.
Really does.
Who says Superman can't grow a facial hair?
It's all he grows in his comatose state, you know.
Yeah, that's right. He grows when he's dead. Yeah.
But the thing is, it wasn't just Whedon. Whedon did all these things. He added strange color choices. He added really awkward pratfall sexist humor. He added just weird things. And then they took it a step further. Originally, the composers of the film were going to be like Junkie XL and Hans Zimmer, as you know, working with Snyder before.
Yeah.
Did wonderful, absolutely immaculate scores for Batman v Superman. Justice League instead got scored by Danny Elfman, who again. Brilliant. Has a very well-established, well-known. He did the Batman score back in the day. He did Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. You know, very iconic.
His variety is about as wide as Hans Zimmer's. Hans Zimmer has done so many different things. They're very different styles. Danny Elfman's scores are very generic, but everything he's done has been a success.
And that's where I think you see the styles. One, he's really pretentious, as it turns out, as a person.
Danny Elfman?
Yeah, as it turns out.
I could see that.
But what happened is that kind of ran over to where he straight up brought back his Batman theme in Justice League as the definitive Batman theme because he felt like he owned the Batman theme. His entire orchestration was very where Zimmer and Junkie relied on like these deep, bassy, powerful drums and bass and like Elfman's, which is consistent with him, but not at all with the tone of DCEU. It's strings, it's high pitched. You could hear these, you know, it worked best with like The Flash, for example, because he already has that kind of like arpeggios and stuff. But it was this strange thing to hear certain notes, like hear certain like Wonder Woman's theme and so on, but done in like this weirdly vacant sounding instrumentation when compared to the beefy drums and pounding of what was.
Yeah, no, I think of Batman, I think of the French horns and the
the interesting thing is that original that is Elfman, that he has the capability to go lower, but there was just so many little differences and then large scale differences between the composer changing and the director changing.
The movie feels rushed.
The movie the movie is incomplete. It's rushed and it's very clearly a surgery gone wrong.
It really is. Yeah, it's and one thing too, I haven't really looked for it. I will come out and say I like the Justice League movie.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy it. Even though I'm a film connoisseur, I love movies. I like old movies. I like new movies. I just like seeing movies.
Yeah.
I try to go in and enjoy something about each movie, and there's only a couple movies I've ever seen where I can't enjoy at least something about it.
Right.
The characters and the cast in the Justice League, no matter how atrocious the rest of it turned out, the cast and the characters, loved it. The cast I liked the cast maybe even a little better than the casts of Marvel just because it was quips and it was relationships that we had seen so much. This Justice League, it was new, it was fresh, it was different, and like every character I liked. And honestly, we haven't seen a lot of some characters like Cyborg, like the Flash. We've seen more of Wonder Woman. Fantastic performance by Gal Gadot, and then we've seen a lot of, or maybe not as much as Wonder Woman, but we've seen a good amount of Aquaman as well with
Yes.
Jason Momoa. Again, a great cast. So like,
Guess who did the casting?
Zack Snyder. And you have, of course, a great Alfred and Jeremy Irons, who we did not see enough of, and probably because of Warner Brothers. But like, again, the cast is really, really good for these movies. So the strength of the movie, when there is strength, is in its characters. It's definitely in its characters. And that, I say, is the only thing about this movie that really kind of leveled with Marvel was you got yourself a solid freaking cast. And at least if there's no chemistry in the movie itself, the characters, when they're together, it is sublime. It's amazing. And I did love that about the movie.
And so you say that, but then what brings us all around, again, to the happiness of the Snyder Cut exists. I already knew it existed, but being published a year from now, they're adding, I think it was ballparks like 20-30 million to a budget to kind of finish it out, finish the post-production.
So they're going to do some more filming? Or
it's for post-production and so on.
Gotcha.
I think they might be adding some lines and stuff, but I don't believe they're doing reshoots.
Yeah.
But, so, finishing it out, all the characters and stuff, you mentioned Cyborg being somebody that we didn't really get to see. Cyborg actually had a much larger arc in the original plans. A lot of his art got cut in the original Justice League. So things like Cyborg are going to get the love they should have had.
I liked him. I'd really never seen him in many things, the actor.
Yeah, Ray Fisher. No, I believe he was more of a Broadway actor originally.
But he's phenomenal in the movie. He's really, really good. And Ezra Miller already has under his belt a very impressive Hollywood resume. I think he's right up there with younger actors of our generation, guys like Rami Malek. He's right up there with like up and coming. They're already there. They just need the parts kind of thing. Ezra Miller's definitely there and plays like a wonderful Flash again. So like, as you were saying, man, we missed a lot of like some great characters, and it made some characters, honestly, again, the movie, I'm not saying it makes the characters look bad, but like, I didn't enjoy much anything from Superman.
And that was the
Justice League. Man of Steel, freaking love that movie. It's a phenomenal movie. I like Batman vs. Superman. I like Superman in that. Like, Henry Cavill is, in my opinion, the best Superman the Superman that can only come close to, just because he was the first Superman, like Christopher Reeve.
Well, yeah, he wasn't the first, but he was the definitive.
The definitive Superman. But like, man, he's such a good Superman.
The fact that Cavill could create that he worked with Snyder and was able to be Superman so strongly, despite not having the same, like, to be able to exude some of the same honesty and the same kind of straightforwardness, whilst also having the full layered of an actual developed character is so powerful.
No,
it's
it
really
was
great.
And you really see that unfold in Man of Steel. We see it unfold a little bit more in Batman vs. Superman, which you should only watch the extended cut of, because the theatrical cut, because of Warner Brothers, is kind of crap.
And I really enjoy both, but the extended is the definitive way to watch.
The extended is really freaking
it's
good.
So good.
The world of difference.
But to get into with Justice League,
sorry about that. Yeah,
no, you're fine. We will always ride with Charles.
Yeah.
The thing with Justice League is that the Superman, just the way he is, was very much not Snyder. It again was very Whedon, and you can tell because he suddenly goes from the Superman we've seen from Cavill to this overly to becoming the plot mechanic, and not just becoming the plot mechanic of like, hi, I'm here, everything wins, but also his demeanor, everything about him became like this weird, as if they looked at Christopher Reeves in like a telescope and said, we want this rose-colored glasses version of what we've pictured for decades. And I love Christopher Reeves' performance as Superman. Wonderful, wonderful thing.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's a different era. It's a different everything. And this Superman isn't the exact same. He has the same qualities. He has the same desires, but he's developed and full. And
one thing that Henry Cavill's Superman has never done is when he is fighting like a bad guy or whatever, he's not gonna have these like Iron Man-esque quips, right? And Tony Stark is the best quip superhero out there. Like, there's a line in Justice League, and the more I think about it, the more it bothers me. Superman goes, "Is this guy still bothering you?" And then punches Steppenwolf in the face. And I'm thinking about it now, and it's like, that would never have been a man. In Man of Steel, he wasn't looking at Zod going, "Zod."
The only quips he had weren't even quips. They were actual like he, in Man of Steel is when one of my favorite moments is when he does have a little like one-liner, but it's not a one-liner. It's him smacking the crap out of Zod going, "Don't touch my mother." Yeah. That's not a one-liner, but that's him being awesome.
That is him being awesome. And there's another one too where, and it's not even really a quip as it is just him going like, "Really?
Right.
Dude, I'm American." He's just like, "You're an alien." He was like, "I was born in Kansas, General."
Right.
It's as American as they come. And I was just like, that's something he would say.
It fits. Whereas everything about what you saw in the original was very tacked on and very... And you could see that in other characters' dialogue too. I mean, some very awkward attempts at humor between Lois and Martha, and like some just stuff like that. And even little things like scenes that had the chance to be really good. Superman's reunion, that's the word.
Reunitement.
Reunitement.
That's the new word, guys.
Reunion with Lois. Wonderful, like in the cornfields, whatever, of Kansas. But then, again, the precedent of like cutting time and so on. It just cuts the scene. Or I'm sorry, it might have been with Martha. It's been so long since I've watched that film because it's a Frankenstein's monster. But it cuts right as the scene's getting good, and they have this moment where you could sit and like appreciate the reunion of these two people that care about each other so much. It just stops and it moves straight to the next action, whatever. Like it just paced so poorly.
Yeah, and again, that's like, that probably is due to, again, you've got characters that Snyder has invested time into that now he is not able to invest his time into, and Warner Brothers being as god awful as they were in this process, going, sorry, we don't have time. And honestly, I'll say this again. One of the things I look at, you cannot judge a movie on its budget. You can judge this movie on its budget. This is a $300 million movie, guys. That is expensive. Those are Marvel numbers. Mm-hmm. So they got that down. Mm-hmm. This movie made $300 million. It made $660
million, yeah.
Avengers Endgame made $1 billion in a weekend. Okay, so when I literally said at the beginning of this podcast, Avengers Endgame made more in a day probably than this movie made its entire tenure in theaters, I was not joking.
No, absolutely.
That's legit. There's a reason. And so it kind of comes back to bite them in the butt a little bit. And I think, again, I don't know, did Warner Brothers sanction the creation of this or the release of this Snyder Cut?
So that's the thing, is this... The cry for the Snyder Cut essentially happened the day after Justice League came out. Because
that's not good. That's not a good thing.
Good. But the thing is, all the people that appreciated the previous movies, they were very divisive, but if you notice, also profitable because the people that loved them. Movies like we instantly you could tell it was nothing about it was right. And it's been 3 years, I believe, since Snyder had to step down. It's been around there. So it's been like probably 2.5 years or so since the movie came out. And ever since then, Snyder's fan base has regularly, consistently not given up and been said, this is not the vision that this director had. This is not what, we want to have the person we enjoy watching, his art. We want to have him be able to express that art, and we want to be able to see that and see the continuation.
No one does movies like Snyder, man. It really is. It's a different kind of style, but it's like, it's one of those things. It's one of those styles you look at and you're like, that's so freaking cool.
It's cool.
That's so freaking cool, and
that's just the visual aspect.
Honestly, yeah. The Watchmen is not the most put together puzzle either. But it's a freaking cool looking movie.
A cool looking, and and it touches on the other side of Snyder's great work in that he's a very philosophical filmmaker.
Yeah.
He poses these questions, and he doesn't just do it to do it. The follow through of how the characters deal with their things is very telling about themselves. Yeah. It's why Batman v Superman is so strong.
Oh yeah.
Because the philosophy, it's V, not versus, because it's the philosophy of Superman versus Batman, all put together by the philosophy of Lex, who is
Jesse Eisenberg's performance is.
I'm gonna be gushy about that because I love Lex, but
his performance is so awesome in that movie. He's my favorite character in Batman vs Superman.
He's so good.
Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor is.
It's amazing.
I'm sorry, Kevin Spacey. You weren't hitting on much. You did you, but you can't follow up after Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor.
And he again was a very divisive part because it was a unique take, but it was a perfect take and very perfect for the modern age. I think we're seeing more and more actually as time has gone on. We have seen the take look more and more accurate as we see the Elon Musks of the world, and they're have where some people I think thought it was weird and inconsistent to have Lex, this brilliant genius, whatever, be kind of all over the place mentally and have to kind of coordinate his thoughts and so on in his head. We're seeing that's actually how overworking brains like that work.
And it's when writing is good for a character too, because there's some things that Jesse Eisenberg says as Lex Luthor in Batman vs Superman that make you go,
some of the best lines written.
It's
absolutely.
So again, Batman vs Superman, as there are some things that I know people didn't like about that movie, comparing it to Justice League, you see more of what maybe more of what the Snyder Cut will be.
Yes,
for Justice League.
And the other interesting thing about the Snyder Cut, the unfortunate truth is that the odds that we ever get the full story that Snyder wanted to tell is next to impossible.
Yeah.
Because Snyder originally had a 5-part series in his mind. Justice League was the third entry in 5 parts. Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Justice League, and then the other 2. He did, even before filming Justice League, some of those hopes were denied by Warner Brothers and all of that. In making, Justice League was originally going to be a 2-parter, as I recall.
Yes, it was.
So obviously he already knew that much going into it. So it's very unfortunate to know going into it that that's not going to happen. But to at least allow him, after years of being being snubbed by a large population of fandom, of critics and so on, that have been reveling in being able to say, this isn't real, this isn't a thing, you're just trying to beg for attention or whatever. This, after years of that, to be able to go out and say, we've got it, we've sealed the deal.
I'm excited.
It is not just monumental for Snyder fans or whatever. It is monumental in filmmaking in general.
Yeah.
To be able to say the power of a positive fandom to work and fight for the creator to be able to give the vision he wanted after such a mess up. It's so cool.
Yeah, no, it's excited for him too, man. I think he deserves this. You know, the guy's been through a lot, and he is. You look at like your filmmakers of the day, your big boys. You've got your Wes Andersons, who is basically in his own Hollywood by himself. I love that guy. You got your Wes Andersons, you got your Christopher Nolans. You know, you've got your Taika Waititis, and you've got your Alejandro Iñárritus, and.
Just showing off you can pronounce names now, right?
Yes, I can. That's the only thing I've taken away from Spanish. It's how to
pronounce his name
properly. Iñárritu. No, it's Iñárritu. So
most Clayton thing. Oh man,
I still got that accent down too. But yeah, who, if you don't know, Alejandro Iñárritu made Birdman and stuff like The freaking Revenant. Beautiful pieces of filmmaking.
That's the title, by the way. The freaking Revenant.
The freaking Revenant. Yeah, yeah. So again, those. If you ever have those conversations, please include Zack Snyder in there, because I think he, because of stuff like this, has not gotten the credit that he really deserves.
Absolutely.
Because I think he's like. Michael Bay, don't get me wrong. Michael Bay, okay, he's known. There's literally memes about him just like blowing up stuff in his movies, right? Like there's that video, a great video on YouTube, the Titanic, directed by Michael Bay, and it's like the chair falling over that explodes, the person falls in the water, explodes. He is a visionary, okay? Because you can't create something like Transformers without being a visionary.
It's fair. Yeah.
Zack Snyder is also a visionary, but he's like Michael Bay if Michael Bay was like an artist. That sounds real. I'm not trying to roast
I
Michael
understand
Bay.
what you're saying.
You understand where I'm coming from, but it's just like if Michael Bay's films, again, they're like it's like it's a
they
lot
are
of
designed to appease and appeal.
They are. There's no really like artistic art form about them, so they're kind of flat. Again, his movies actually are paced very well. Okay. You know, you think of movies, he didn't just do Transformers, he did, you know, great war films like 13 Hours, which is a fantastic movie. Paced very well, but they're kind of flat as far as like artistic style goes. It's really just like, it is a blockbuster movie. Zack Snyder has he's got some artistic, not sprinkles, but he's got artistic layers of frosting on this thing. And like, man, he deserves his shot. And I really like, I love his movies. You know what? If 300 isn't one of the coolest freaking movies ever made, I don't know what is.
Right.
But he deserves this. I really think
I do agree. And I think to kind of think of like maybe a way to kind of tie a bow on the conversation. The interesting thing to see is now that this has happened, we're seeing the fandoms look for directors that haven't had their vision told. Even, you know, a big one being tied to Snyder. David Ayer has been kind of tweeting out a little bit about Suicide Squad, saying, hey, obviously it's not Snyder's situation, but release the Ayer cut? Like... Because he had scenes that were... He had a lot of restrictions put on him by Warner Brothers that have come out after the fact.
I'm just going to say this. I don't want good cut, bad cut, perfect cut, haircut. I don't care what kind of cut it is. I don't want any more Suicide Squad.
I'm sorry, man. I
know you do. And that's the only thing we like. If ever we are to use the word clash, right. That's the only thing. I like 2 characters in the entire movie.
Which ones?
I love Will Smith as Deadshot because he's incredible.
Absolutely amazing.
I like Jai Courtney for Captain Boomerang. And I am somewhat okay with Harley Quinn because she has some depth. She's not like the guy in the beginning of the film who goes like, I'm going to escape now, and then gets his head blown off.
Everybody's favorite character.
And then and then Killer Croc, who just goes, he's not ripped or shredded. He just looks like
he's just a massive scales.
He just looks, and he has like saggy man boobs and stuff. Like, and he's just like, I'm gonna go swimming in the sewers, and then gets halfway drowned by a bunch of stupid soldiers.
Oh, man.
This movie makes me laugh, guys. So
I'm gonna kind of blow your mind though.
I didn't mean to rat on that for just a second. It's just when you said something about it, and I was like, I gotta come out.
I'm gonna blow your mind though. The original vision of Suicide Squad, which isn't what would be released here.
Yeah.
Sorry. Those formless blobs that were their enemies were parademons.
See, that would make sense.
The villain was Steppenwolf. All the way back then, originally the vision for the universe was that was Steppenwolf with the mother box. That's how much was planned that Warner Brothers changed.
Okay, see, that would make sense, and I would love that. But having them just go like, and like literally, I keep laughing because there is that scene where the Killer Croc just like, I'll see you guys later. Yeah. And then he dives into the sewer and gets drowned by a bunch of soldiers who have bubble heads.
Right.
It's just
there's a lot that could be improved. God. But I love the characters in there, and I think we also some of the big things that Ira is referencing is mainly how much of Joker got cut.
Yeah,
people obviously have very mixed takes on Leto's Joker, but I think he is a Joker that the more screen time you give him, the more you get it. There's some great shots he's shown that I would love to see in the actual film.
I will say his Joker can be as good as he wants it to be, but kind of after Joaquin Phoenix's performance in Joker,
they're totally different takes.
They are different. It's just my thing is like, I think there was so much when there was Joker stuff in Suicide Squad. It was heavy Joker, but there wasn't enough moments like that.
Yeah.
So the guys coming into the room and going, we know where they're going, we found them. Mm-hmm. And him going, right. In a circle of knives and guns. At that point I was just like, I want to do something to myself with one of these things that you're surrounding yourself. This is, it's just
the
like,
issue
so
is that
over the,
what happens is that you get dropped in the middle of it. And you don't get to get enough of him for you to feel justified with how he is.
Yeah.
Personally, I enjoy unique takes on things.
That's man. That's all you, and that's no problem. Like,
but no, and I totally get why it's not for everyone. But what I'm getting at more with all this is to say that directors like him, I've even seen to kind of poke at Disney, I've seen release the Abrams cut for 9 because he had issues put on him by Disney too.
Why don't we release the Abrams cut for 8? Let's just start that one over again.
I mean, I won't say anything about that.
Yeah, that's another
time. Because I agree, but Johnson. I have come to peace with a lot of the things he's done, but it's fine.
Man can make a good looking film.
Make a great
everything
film.
about episode 8. It is probably the most visually pleasing Star Wars movie.
I give it that. Absolutely.
I absolutely would. Just again, it doesn't fit in that universe. We have talked about this before. We can talk about this later.
Absolutely.
But I think it all goes to say, Joseph, that and I had something else to add, and I might mention it in a couple minutes, but it all goes to say that trust your directors. Give them their time, give them their space, because when Disney does that to someone like, say, the Russo brothers, the result we get is the biggest movie ever made and the biggest 10-year movie saga probably ever produced aside from Star Wars.
Right.
So you trust your directors. You let them do their work. You let them fulfill their visions, because if Zack Snyder comes to me and goes, I want to make a movie for you, I'm going to go,
right,
take it. I'll pay you later. Take it, make my movie.
And the
money is yours. You're going to do a great job with it because it's Zack freaking Snyder.
And here's where there's the two parts to this. One is trust your directors, and 2 is keep a consistent vision.
Absolutely.
Because what happened was not only
which you get through trusting your director,
right? Yeah. but the issue with this was that they took what Snyder's doing and threw it to Whedon with a different vision. I think what you see with episode 8 is that Johnson is in his own way a very good director, and he did a lot of great things, but he had a different vision than what Abrams. I have friends that will debate on that all day, but he simply took Star Wars in a different vision than it was going to be taken.
And you can't do that when it's the 8th movie in a series.
Right. Right.
If in the Harry Potter movies, Deathly Hallows Part 1 took a completely different turn than the previous 6 or 7, and then... Wait, no, I'm messing my numbers up. But you get what I'm saying, right? Like, that is a series that had to stay uniform with itself. Star Wars is the same way. You can't get to the 8th movie and go, we're changing things up, y'all.
Right.
And so, and again, I think that's where, in a case of the series of unfortunate events on every single side, that was the production of Justice League. I think really it all comes down to, it is on Warner Brothers.
Absolutely.
This is totally on them. To at least, one of the things, Lord, at least make your bad guy look real and not like an animated JPEG.
And the other thing, Steppenwolf also, again, why does he look like that? There's some pictures, there's some clips of the design of Steppenwolf, and it doesn't look very good because it's very unfinished, but he's thicker. He looks more animalistic. He's got everything about him a little bit chunkier, like he's a big boy. He's not this. He just has a different look. They changed his aesthetic at the last minute, which resulted in it looking sloppy.
He's definitely a devastating and very frightening villain. But with my parents, I watched Avengers Infinity War last night. And dang, I gotta take my glasses off for this. If Thanos looks better than some of the freaking humans that are actually in Infinity War.
It's crazy, yeah.
When Thanos, there's a moment when Thanos turns his neck. You can see the pores of his skin and some wrinkles in his neck as he turns his neck. When Steppenwolf is just like, if you made a model out of tinfoil and gave it an axe, right? Like, that's what he looks like. When Thanos looks like you can walk up and shake the guy's hand. So real.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when you... First of all, you're Disney, and you're the Russo brothers. But that's what you do when that relationship works. When you trust each other. Disney was like, you guys have blown us the frick away. You take this because we trust you guys, and look what freaking happens.
Yeah.
So I wonder, seeing the Snyder cut, which does come out 2021, correct? Seeing it, man, we might get a little taste of what could have been.
And what's interesting to me is like, there does, to me, the one thing, if I was going to put limitations on myself to expect is, I don't know at what level of detail we'll be able to get some of the, because it's not like they're adding a full movie budget. They're adding $30 million into the pot to finish it out.
That could make about 26. What will we do in the shadows anyway?
Right. Well, yeah, but the thing is, like, it's all post-production. So if they're able to finish out, again, the graphics and stuff is kind of the biggest where that's going to go. It's the question of simply, are you able to throw enough money in the pot to get a good enough level there? I think I really hope it will be enough, because that's something that is a little bit beyond the director.
Yeah.
But the vision, the art, but by art I mean like the cinematography, all that are things that are the director. The coloring, again, the weirdly red finale was not weirdly red. You could even see in the early ads it was not that color, as I recall. Like, it's so many things about the film that just were utterly ripped apart and transplanted and destroyed.
Yeah.
And so it will be a fascinating thing to see a year from now on HBO Max when it comes. I will definitely support HBO Max for doing it, specifically for doing it.
For sure. I mean, like, I will... I guarantee you will watch this podcast on it. And,
yeah, totally. In fact, that group of... I have a group of friends that we all kind of met each other online through enjoying these films, and so we're gonna have a watch party. We're gonna we're gonna get together states apart. It's gonna be a great time. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, man.
And so I'm really excited to see when it comes.
Yeah.
And I think it sets a great precedent for the future of being able to let these filmmakers make their visions.
I know, and I think I'm really hoping it turns out okay.
Yeah.
But as you said, like maybe this is a bit of a wake-up call. First of all, Marvel making a good $1 billion in a weekend, that's enough of a wake-up call to me to go, man, that's what we were trying to do. Why couldn't we achieve that? Mm-hmm. Well, let me think. Right? So, maybe this is a wake-up call. Yeah. Maybe this is, and I'm ready to see a fresh take. I'm ready to see something different, and I think that's exactly what we're going to get. Joseph, what can everybody expect to get from us pretty soon?
Pretty soon? Well, we've got our podcasts are in a new place. You can go to Anchor, or you can go to Spotify. There's a lot of places now.
Yeah, so we're not particularly big on Spotify. So
okay.
Yeah, so the best thing to do is
Anchor.fm is the best thing. And from there, you can choose which platform to listen on. The link is in our Instagram bio, and you will find it is amazing because you get to listen to us without seeing our dumb faces. And honestly, there's not much better than that. Any chance you have to remove this is worth it.
But if you don't want to remove it, if you go to bit.ly/J=J. That is our YouTube channel page, and that's where you're probably watching this video right now. That link used to be in our bio, but since we're going to Anchor, I moved the Anchor to our bio. But the YouTube link is much shorter, much easier to remember. It's a bit.ly link. They're great for making short URLs. So bit.ly/J, the word equals J. You'll see that graphic somewhere right in this screen area. bit.ly/J=J. That is our YouTube channel, and we're going to be producing more stuff.
It occurred to me, you can't show the graphic to audio users, and
that's
so you're
true.
just showing the graphic to people that are already here.
That's true.
And I'm for it.
Yeah, no. But yeah, bit.ly/J=J for our audio listeners. Don't forget to go check us out on Instagram as well. Thank you for listening in /watching in, and some stuff to look out for. There's a bunch of news running around about Mandalorian season 2 right now, and so we're probably going to hit that shortly. But thanks for watching and listening in as well, Joseph. As always, sir, it's been a pleasure, and it's good to be back.
It's good to be back. Dude. First time we've been able to do an in-person recording for a long time.
Yeah, man.
Stay beautiful, y'all. Stay safe. Keep the masks on, and
support your local small businesses.
Support your local small businesses safely.
Yes, precisely.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.